storm is coming. And here are a few reasons why. We are in the largest bubble ever known to modern man. The U.S. economy has been financing its growth since the late 90s and created successive asset bubbles, each one larger than its predecessor. Meanwhile, each stimulus yields less organic growth, adding to a now permanent cost of financing that growth. It is no longer organic or self-supporting. In addition to the $29 trillion with a T stimulus, the Fed relaxed reserve requirements of banks to zero. That means lending since then has been through the firewall with no reserves, and the Feds are now injecting $40 billion of liquidity each month into the banking system. But it's not QE. The U.S. deficit is now 7% of our GDP, and that cannot reverse without structurally changing the social benefits. And of course, that's untouchable. The costs of which are accelerating at multiples of the stated inflation, while the population is graying and getting more expensive, and the replacement rates to support it plummeting. In 2034, Social Security Trust Fund is gone. Benefits will be reduced automatically by 23 or 24%. That's going to catapult 1/4 of the recipients into poverty. 4 generations are now paying for a system that will be insolvent before they retire. That's the math. A 5-generation social contract is now broken, and it cannot be restored without mass immigration of young workers. We go from bubble to bubble. Bailing out the Great Recession crossed the economic Rubicon and erased any possibility of restoring normalcy. We cannot grow out of this. A collapse since then has been prevented only through more infusions of Fed liquidity. That means free money. But there's a consequence. When COVID hit, the world went into a new chapter, a new dimension of insolvency, but it was masked by the skyrocketing government debt, which everyone seems to think is somehow going to resolve. We, yea, the world, is now in an unimaginable, unpayable bubble. Injecting more and more money transitioned what used to be a free market into centralized control. Those emergency loans cannot be repaid, and every single attempt to do such has seen the banking system literally, and I do mean literally, run out of money. Interventions do not lift all the boats. Due to the liquidity infusions, otherwise known as free money, housing and equities exploded. Real estate in 2 years went up 40%, but wages can't. That means that the divide between those who own assets and those who own debt exploded into a gilded age surpassing anything in America's history. To the other than boomers, the train has left the station, and all they can do is gamble their way to a more comfortable life. Forget about buying a house, which begs the question of what happens when they figure it out. The welfare nets they're compelled to support are failed. Their payments are gratuitous. The continuous rise in drug use reflects not a compromised national character, but a growing sense of desperation. Institutions of America, family, everything is failing that supports a healthy society. Marital and especially birth rates. There are no worker bees to pay for these benefits. Fed interventions have made the medicine of supporting this system at least as toxic as the disease, and now the American dream is becoming an ever more distant memory. The books are cooked. The last jobs report compounded the pain partially revealed last September and made it official that you, yes, you, should not trust a solitary economic number. They are propaganda to support the financial engineering that has destroyed the middle class in deference to the top 10% just to keep the system moving. The perpetual illusion of growth, of ever-expanding credit, was just that. All the lofty gains of the market on the heels of the high employment reports were a lie. The revisions erased most of the past 2 years of reported gains. Last year, there were virtually no new jobs. And of the jobs created, there was only one sector that accounted for almost all of them, healthcare. This admission breaches the public's trust, but that is all that has been supporting the markets. Soon, everyone is going to question these things. A last note about the stratospheric rise in the top 10%. AI pretends to erode, if not destroy, many entry-level positions. The big CapEx build-out fueled almost all of last year's GDP, and it will further solidify management over labor. Labor is getting less a share of the GDP than ever in history, and it's not by hundreds per CEO, it's by thousands. AI is only going to extend that distance. We are headed for feudalism. Eventually, perhaps soon, these realities will gel and pressure will build for reform. I foresee another New Deal emerging, one that includes a retirement account based on market gains, and that's before the end of this administration. These tectonic moves are inexorable, despite the distractions of day-to-day headlines and never higher markets. Consumer sentiment has always paralleled markets up and down. Now the two are at extremes never before experienced. That means that no rational valuation can be placed on the market at present. And there is no fix. There is no remedy. Only gimmicks to calm the masses like more financial engineering and a 300-year your mortgage. The markets are going to fall and fall hard. The GDP is distorted, job numbers admittedly inflated, employment is ever more gig and part-time oriented, wages stagnant relative to inflation for decades, the middle class erodes each year, housing unaffordable because of the inflation of the assets, and the economy is right now, supported almost entirely by the outside spending of the top 10%. Further goosing stocks with cheap money will only heighten the fall. Asset managers have had a relatively easy time. However, we are headed for one that will take half the market away, and I believe we are on the cusp at this very moment. When the big fall begins, all these dormant factors will support its legitimacy, acceleration, and duration. They are all in plain sight today, if you dare look. Besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, happy Valentine's Day.